Something you should know about me is that I don't tend to get excited easily. Last year, for example, when I turned 38, my parents got me a pony for my birthday, and I didn't really feel anything. Now, don't get me wrong, it was delicious, but did it get me excited? Definitely not. So when patch 11.1 was announced, I kind of felt the same thing. It didn't tickle my brain the way I wanted it to be tickled. It just didn't get like any of my usual juices flowing. But you know what? The more I read about this patch, the more I found myself giddy, ironically enough. So let's go through everything we know so far about patch 11.1. Mounts, dungeons, raids, UI improvements, we're going to cover them all. And we're going to rank these things objectively in terms of how they make me feel. So I know that many divided takes exist out there on how Mythic Plus was received in the first season of The War Within, but to me, as a healer mind you, the best way I can describe the first season of Mythic Plus is that it gave me the same feeling as rolling through a field of urchins with my parents watching and reminding myself of what a disappointment I am. So to say that I am a bit weary about how Mythic Plus is going to feel in this new season is putting it mildly. Now don't get me wrong, I don't want to be overly doom and gloom about the whole thing. From what I can tell, Blizzard are aware that things didn't really go according to plan last season, and according to this blue post last week, lots of difficulty adjustments and the like are going to be implemented going into Season 2. Over the course of The War Within Season 1, the development team has received extensive feedback on Mythic Plus dungeons, I guess you could call it that. Common areas of criticisms have included the sense that players were faced with too many mechanics at once, that failure was too punishing, that rewards felt insufficient for the challenge and effort required, and that it could be hard for many players to find groups as the community gravitated towards meta specs to help cope with these difficulties. Those quotation marks sure are doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. We have already approached our Season 2 dungeon rollout on the PTR and ongoing tuning with an eye towards addressing mechanical issues. Cast times on critical enemy spells have been significantly increased, tank damage spikes reduced in magnitude and or given better telegraphs, the overall number of threats in an average pack of enemies have been reduced, and more. Anyway, my brain gets tired easily when I read too much information. All of this is available on the blog post. The point of it all is that whilst changes are still in progress, it seems that the philosophy of Mythic Plus kind of going into this new season revolves around clarity and kind of making things feel less unfair for the players involved. And you know, from having a look around at the community and kind of for their reaction on the whole thing, people seem pleased about these things. Now, tuning aside, since I am by no means a high-end Mythic Plus player, what I'm more interested in relating to kind of how the season feels overall is going to be the seasonal dungeon rotation. What were the dungeons again? I swear I looked it up right before starting to record. So the dungeons in the new rotation are as follows. We're going to have the 4 War Within dungeons that we have not seen in Season 1, a new dungeon called Operation Floodgate, which had many people confused, including me, since this is not a mega dungeon, so it seems that we're breaking away from kind of the tradition we've seen in the, I don't know how many expansions, of introducing kind of a mega dungeons in the first major patch of an expansion, and then breaking it down into smaller Mythic Plus dungeons in the next 2 seasons. This time, Operation Floodgate is going to be available from the get-go as a Mythic Plus dungeon. And from the old dungeons we have, wait, Operation Mechagon, didn't we just... There's of course a whole lot more to say about affixes and mechanics coming into Season 2, and I have an entire infographic video for that in the works, don't you worry. But at this moment, at the time of recording, how do I feel about Mythic Plus? Honestly, kinda mid, but a bit towards less excited. Just because, as a man of science with a PhD and everything, I wanna see it to believe it. Too many times Blizzard have promised me roses and fancy dinners and wines and dines, only to end up in a ditch somewhere with a nasty STI that I can shake off till this day. Unbelievable. Now, you know me, I love my mounts, some might say a little too much, but the thing is, I love ground mounts as much as flying mounts, and as you can probably tell, over the last few expansions, patches, we really didn't have much reason to use our ground mounts over and above, let's just say, some dungeons here and there. So I'm glad that Blizzard are taking a jab at fixing this in the next patch with the introduction of this D.R.I.V.E mount. D.R.I.V.E in Undermined in patch 11.1. Patch 11.1 contains D.R.I.V.E, a brand new locomotion style with a brand new, how many times can you say brand new in one sentence challenge? With a brand new, very fast ground mount with customizable stats. Like other recent additions like dragon riding and Delver's dirigible customizations, your D.R.I.V.E card can be customized. Oh, golly gee. However, this time around, the customizations will go beyond just looks. When you mount your new G99 Breakneck, which is how this mount is called, you will see a new action bar for your vehicle. Boost gives a massive burst of speed for a short duration and consumes one of the turbocharges. Now, personally, I'm quite excited about this new mount for obvious reasons, but the one question kind of in the back of my mind that I feel needs to be answered is how well will it control? Will it feel good to drive around at this very high speed, or will it feel janky and we will be dreading each and every moment not to slam into a wall? Because, how can I put this without sounding weird? Mario Kart has done things to me that till this day I haven't recovered from. Yeah, that wasn't weird at all. Nailed it. Now, to no one's surprise, with a new patch, we're going to have access to a new raid. This time it's going to be the Liberation of Undermined. This raid will feature 8 bosses, with the confirmed final boss being former Goblin racial leader Galewix. Players will need to collaborate with the blah blah blahs and traverse the blah blah blah. And when it comes to raids, I'm not a big raid player generally. I'm a social outcast. I do not belong in guilds. However, over the years, I have developed a foolproof way of figuring out whether the raid is going to be good or not. You don't look at the mechanics, you don't look at the rewards. Instead, you open the dungeon journal and check how silly the names are. And invariably, scientifically, physically, metaphysically, you'll always find a positive correlation between the silliness of the names and raid quality. So with names like Styx, Bunk Junker, One Arm Bandit, and Cauldron of Rage, you know we're in good hands. Oh yeah, there's one final thing to mention here when it comes to raids. Apparently this raid is going to have a renown track to go with it. With the Liberation of Undermined raid comes a renown track with some very unique rewards, including a stacking raid buff, augment runes, and even a dinar-like currency for purchasing desirable raid gear. Here's what we know so far. So on screen right now, you have the various rewards from this raid-specific renown track. Anyway, all this is awesome, amazing. You know me, if I don't get to fill at least 3 or 4 arbitrary progress bars every 6 weeks or so, I go into an anaphylactic shock. So definitely excited for this more than I am for Mythic Plus, but I am still excited for the card just a little bit more. Oh look, another progress bar to fill.
Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you.
Now, delves are another one of those war within features that I was really super into when the game came out. In fact, delves are one of the things that drew me to the game to begin with after kind of a dragonflight lull at the end of the expansion. I loved the idea, I loved the sense of progression, I loved that I could see myself getting kind of stronger and building my character and getting gear and rewards without actually being much of an inconvenience to other people. It was something that felt really good. At least for a while. Delves were definitely one of those things that took a lot of calibration in Season 1. It felt that Blizzard really didn't know what they wanted to do with the delves in the beginning, how much they wanted them to be challenging kind of for solo players or for going in as groups, how much should the rewards compare to other areas such as Mythic Plus, kind of the more conventional tracks of gear acquisition. You know what though? You know what? Unlike dungeons, where I'm still very skeptical about what's going to happen going into Season 2, with delves I feel that Blizzard have found their footing a bit more. So I'm more confident that the changes we're going to see are going to push them in the right direction. We're going to have 3 additional new delves introduced into this patch: Excavation Site 9 and Side Street Sluice are going to be the 2 new regular delves coming with patch 11.1, and we're going to have the new difficult delve, the Underpins Demolition Competition, kind of the new challenging delve for Season 2. In there, we will defeat the Underpin, this glorious sexy bastard, a goblin that committed the sin of stealing all of Bran's treasure in Korea's from Treason 1. Treason 1. Honestly, this is the one feature that I am most looking forward to because I like pain, I like suffering. I feel this is a really good end of solo progression challenge. And look, I'm just a guy wearing some ducks on my head, making points in this dark room. I don't even know where the owners are. I don't know when they'll be home, so you don't have to take my word for it.